Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So we are here live today with Sam Rosenberg of Concierge Senior Placement. Sam helps people find assisted living and nursing facilities in the greater Los Angeles area. So, Sam, what's new in your world?
Well, first of all, Jonathan, thank you very much for the intro. I really appreciate it. Good morning, everybody. Nice to meet you all here. I hope you're all here and enjoying a wonderful Monday morning. well, my world is an interesting world of seniors. In this world, when people give me a call, it's because there's usually a need. I've been in the senior industry for many years, used to run communities going back to 1985. I ran some large communities in Santa Monica. I know them well. I know the industry well. I've been in the industry since then. And until now, I still maintain a license as a administrator. So when I walk into a community, I know what's going on. I know all the rules and regulations. That's kind of important. Aside from the fact that I have a law degree, so I got to keep it all really honest. Um, but at the same time, when people come to me, they're coming to me as an expert. They're looking for a community that can help them and the senior in their life um, make the right choices. Why they do that as opposed to calling other places? There are a lot of places out there. In fact, there's one place that's out there. They are the elephant in the industry. They're a monstrous um, senior referral source. They're not a placement source. There's a big difference. And what they do is they'll get your name and phone number and they will plaster it all throughout the Los Angeles area to communities all over, big and small. And the idea is if they blanket everybody, no matter where you go, your name will now be registered with them and those communities. And so that can be an issue because you may not want to get calls from a place that's not appropriate for your loved one. You may not want to be pestered by 100 different communities. You may want some place that's really catered just for you. Excuse me. My service is really to find the right community for you and for your loved one. How does that work? I actually walk into communities. I had somebody call me. They, as an example, somebody called me, had heard about me, and they said, we need to find a community for my parents. And I said, what's the issue? And they said, well, we've called a lot of the big places and it didn't help. My parents speak Mandarin. And it was a unique case because there's not a lot of communities out there that actually cater to that population. And it took quite a bit of research on my part, and I was able to find them a community up in San Francisco. So I'll work. That's actually the furthest north I've ever worked, considering that I am a local provider, as you know, in the Los Angeles area. My home base is here in the San Fernando Valley, but my businesses, when I was operating them, personally, were in Santa Monica, so I was very familiar with, and still am familiar with, many of the communities in the West Los Angeles and Los Angeles area, as well as, of course, the San Fernando Valley. So that's what I do.
Nice, nice. So you pretty much you can. It seems like you could tackle almost any situation. So people come to you with their I guess with their things that they're looking for. And like the one of the main benefits is that other providers will just put your name on a list pretty much. And you'll be
That's
getting calls from maybe hundreds, if not thousands of providers saying, "Hey, we have something for you." Right? And as a person looking for placement services, that's obviously annoying. Could imagine just having your phone blowing up all day every day. So one of the questions I kind of had was how does it's so obviously it's a the topic someone has to learn about placement services, but how does because if you don't know, like if I'm just someone and I have an elderly parent, right? But I'm not familiar with this industry. How does someone like me or someone in the general population meet somebody like you? Like how do we find you?
That's a good question. So one of the best ways to find me is I am on the internet. I do have a website. I'm involved in many organizations and business networking groups, as well as in the area, and by word of mouth. I have relationships with fiduciaries, with attorneys and people in important positions taking care of and helping to manage seniors. And a lot of times, when you want to find a placement company, you can find them out there. And the truth is, there are many people that do what I do, and they're very good at what they do. What makes me a little bit different is obviously that I do hold all these different credentials, which allows me to walk into a community and glean what's important for my clients. Um, these days, there used to be a time when you could place somebody just for social reasons. Nowadays, it's gotten, what makes it more critical now is that since COVID, um, people are now doing placements really because they have to. There was a time when people were considering retirement and it was very easy and you could go into a community pretty much anywhere. But now it's changed. The industry has changed. A lot of the communities that are out there used to be independent living. Some of them are assisted livings, but the real focus now has become memory care, and really acute care. And so as people's needs increase, they need to find the right kind of community to meet those needs. And nowadays, post COVID, um, a lot of the focus has been on memory care, because you realize that during COVID, somebody who has a memory care problem can't stay in their home anymore. They either have to bring care in or they have to move out. But the likelihood of being able to stay there safely is pretty much not there unless they have a tremendous budget. Because nowadays, with the industry the way it's gone, certainly in the care industry, the cost of labor, of insurance, of having those caregivers in your home can run you anywhere from $20 to $30,000 a month for 24-hour care, especially if it's memory care. And that's why it's important. Why we get into the other part of it, which is long-term care insurance, which is very important, and that's something that, of course, Jonathan DeVos is an expert on. But if you can't afford to have the care in your home, then you're going to want to have an alternative place to be. And so that's where I come in. People will call me and they'll say, I need a place. And I've gotten a lot of calls during COVID and post COVID, really that have focused on people that have high acuity needs, memory care needs. Very few people call me because they just want to retire and socialize in a senior setting. And so in that way, the industry really has changed.
Mhm, mhm. So you kinda spoke to people that have, like, the memory, they need memory care, so Alzheimer's, dementia. So I'm assuming just because you have that, on the ground experience and dealing with people in that stage of their life, what are some of the things that you see that happens to seniors when they're in that phase of going through early onset dementia or Alzheimer's and it's not safe? Like, what do you see? Like, how do you know
Right.
it's not safe?
Right. Why does somebody pick up the phone and call me? That's a very good question. And that's exactly what happens. Um, in this scenario, it could be a family member that sees mother or father is not dressing properly. They've noticed that there's more visits to the hospital or to doctors. It could be falls. It could be simple things like just not doing your what's called ADLs, activities of daily living, the things we take for granted, like getting dressed in the morning, bathing, shaving, putting on makeup, coloring your hair if you do that, having groceries in the house, cooking, making sure you eat. Things that we take for granted that are so simple are not simple when somebody starts to have memory care issues, or they are physically incapable of, or perhaps they were living in a household where another partner was doing it for them and that person is no longer capable of doing so. Um, People go through transitions in life, whether it's people who pass on. It could be a spouse that passed away and they were responsible for all the finances, or maybe they were responsible for all the cooking and maintenance and care that was going on in the house. Well, that person may not be around anymore. And so all of a sudden, this life transition has created a situation that now becomes precarious for the person in the home. And again, it could be something as simple as food. clothing and shelter, all the Maslow's hierarchy. We need the basics first, and if you don't have that, the rest of it falls apart. And so when family members see that, if you see that in somebody in your life, those are the first signs that it may be time to have a conversation, whether it's bringing care in or thinking about whether that house is safe for them anymore and affordable. Again, it all has to do with the balancing act of the house affordability and the amount of care that's required.
So just to kind of reiterate what you were saying is that if you are responsible for taking care of a senior, say you're the child of a senior or the niece, nephew, sibling, whatever the case may be, when you notice certain things that your loved one cannot do to the same capacity, then it's time to have that conversation with someone like yourself. And those activities, they're activities of daily living, right? So dressing yourself,
Right.
whether or not they can feed themselves properly, bathing, going to the bathroom, and moving themselves from place to place. And just simple things like, are they driving a little different now, right? Are they stumbling or falling down? Sort of, things like that. So that's when it's time to contact someone like Sam. So I guess, Sam, what would be a solution, because we're coming down to the last 3 minutes of the show. So what would be, some takeaways that you would give some people that are thinking about using placement services? What should they consider when looking for someone like yourself, and just things they should know? Any blind spots?
That person should know that they're going to be the most difficult conversations they're going to have with a parent or a loved one. It's not easy to tell somebody who is your parent that their life is spinning out of control or that they are losing control of the home and the environment that they've had. And so there are social workers out there, care managers out there, caregivers out there, and people like myself, professional, placement people who have seen this transition that people have to make from home, either to with care or out of home and into community. Those are complex conversations. And one of the things that I do is I meet with the family initially, whoever that responsible party is, to discuss all the needs. Who is the person that we're talking about? Eventually, if the person wants to meet me, I do prefer to meet my clients. I think it's very important for me to get an understanding of what their capabilities are or their deficits are and be able to find out what their interests are so that I can make a perfect match between what their needs are, but not just their physical needs, but also their emotional and psychological needs, because it's a full picture. I always say that, these are not people that are just a diagnosis. These are full human beings that have had, a vast experience, and to just pigeonhole them into, oh, well, they have just memory care, so we need to lock them up into a memory care unit is really a poor thought process, and it's not appropriate. I don't believe. My feelings are find a home or a community where they will feel comfortable, where we know that if they have certain talents and certain interests or certain hobbies, that we can engender some growth for them, but at the same time know that they're safe and secure. So by me meeting them, by me making the match between who they are and the type of person and life that they used to share, and match that with a community that can meet those needs, that's the perfect match. And I've had those, and they're wonderful, and they do make a big difference in people's lives. So that's why it's important to find somebody who can take the time to find out who your senior is and find the right match for them.
And something else to kind of speak on, just hearing from the expert's opinion. So there's facilities at the state they have for people that are on Medicaid, right? Um, can you just shed some light on why you would not want your loved one to be in a Medicaid facility?
I will tell you, if you can get if you can get long-term care insurance, please do so. I'm not. I will tell you that I had somebody who I will. Somebody just called me the other day, and they told me they have a father who's a vet, as in a veteran, and that their finances were limited to probably some vet benefits and possibly some Medicaid benefits. And she wanted me to find a community for them that ran in full memory care, and they wanted full services. And she wanted me to find a community for them that would cost anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000. Oh, and it had to be in the Culver City, Santa Monica area. Well, I can tell you that there are places that exist like that are under Medicaid, that are just, I wouldn't put my own relative in them. I wouldn't put an enemy into them. I'm sorry. They're just not run the way um, the, the the guidelines are set up by the Department of Social Services. These days, the idea behind assisted livings was that we were the state was creating a mechanism that would allow people to live in a home-like environment, but yet at the same time have all their care needs met. Some of these places are not a home-like environment. It almost seems penitentiary-like. They're scary. There's mixed populations between mental illness, people with and different age ranges too. So, uh, look, it's a broken system. It's not a great system, but it's a system that's just, it's what we have in California. I don't know what it is like in the other states. I know it's not as good in other states, but since my area is California, if I wouldn't be willing to put my own parent into a place, I won't place them. And I've only done it a couple times against my better judgment, but the clients insisted that they go into the places. They saw them, I took them to them, and they insisted. But it's not the choice that I would make for my own loved one.
Hmm. Hmm. So, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from Sam Rosenberg of Concierge Senior Placement. You want to look for some traits that maybe your loved ones are starting to show. Maybe they're having trouble with their activities of daily living. Maybe they're driving different, maybe stumbles and falls. And you want to have a conversation with someone like Sam, but be prepared that these are tough conversations to have. So prepare yourself mentally. Make sure you have a support system that can help you through these times. And then last but not least is that the program offered by the state is not ideal, right? Sam would not want to put his own worst enemies there or his own parents there. So think about that, and you can plan ahead by actually purchasing long term care insurance for that. But Sam Rosenberg of Concierge Senior Placement, I'll drop the link to his website in the comment section below and all of his contact information also. So thank you all for tuning in live. Take care and have a good one.